Hello Starshine! My name is Liz and this is my channel, Simsational Stories. If you have not seen my videos before and you enjoy this one, please like and subscribe. And maybe check out my Facebook page where this whole thing began as well. All relevant links are in the description below. And of course, if you're a Sims player and you'd like to download any of the characters featured in my stories, just search the hashtag Simsational Stories on the Sims 4 gallery. All original content is created by This Is Not Eric. Alrighty then. So, welcome, and what is up, Buttercup? Are you having a good day or a bad day? Whichever your answer, please allow me to distract you from your life and tell you a story, a Simsational story. Before I begin though, I'd like to issue this blanket content and trigger warning. The following story is just Sims, hey. I'm not going to apologise for treating them terribly, if that's what I've done, but I do want to assure you now that although I mean absolutely no harm, I completely understand if you feel unable to consume my content. Many loves, and we will catch each other on the internet elsewhere. Okay, so now we've gotten that over with, let's go. Today's story is from Kalthis and Co, and we're at chapter 11. If you have not seen previous chapters and would like to catch up, there are playlists available on my channel so you can hear the entire story in chronological order. The rest of us are going to move on from where we left off last time though. So without further ado. The Kalthis kids, consisting of eldest daughter Kelsey, then, in descending order, Kevin, Keith, Carissa and Kaylee, had been abandoned by their mother, Kellyanne Kalthis, who had moved in with her new boyfriend, Kyle Harris, after a fight between her and Kelsey. Of course, Kelsey blamed herself. Her siblings were missing their mother, and it was all her fault. She refused to call her mother, though. It was a matter of pride. Although it had originally only been a short-term move intended to teach Kelsey a lesson in humility and respect, before she realised it, Kellyanne had been gone for over a week. She had expected Kelsey to call her back home within days, but as more and more time passed, Kellyanne realised that she didn't want to go back. She was happy at Kyle's house, and she was already beginning to justify her continued residence there to herself. Kellyanne's boyfriend Kyle encouraged her in these thoughts. He'd only spent a couple of days over at her place with the kids, and he'd hated it. He much preferred having Kellyanne over at his place all to himself. He was a very selfish kind of a guy, and didn't see why they should have to put up with a bunch of stinking, screaming kids and rude teenagers when they could quite easily just avoid that by staying at his nice, clean, quiet apartment. Meanwhile, back at home, Kelsey was struggling to cope with the responsibility of caring for all four of her little siblings. She was doing really well for the first 2 weeks, but then the bills started to come in. The family had gotten free rent ever since Kellyanne had had a baby with their landlord, Gino Grubb, but they still had power and water bills to pay, not to mention food to buy. Kelsey got a job at a local fast food restaurant and picked up what odd jobs she could, but it wasn't easy and it wasn't enough. The only person Kelsey told about her mother leaving them was her best and only friend, Roman Peterson. He was shocked and tried to convince her to report Kellyanne to the authorities, but Kelsey was adamant that they had to conceal this. If Children's Services found out, they would take all of the children, and they'd never see each other again. To Kelsey's relief, Roman promised to help support her and keep her secret. Kevin overheard their conversation, and he thought Roman was a real gentleman. The way he reacted was almost heroic, and Kevin could tell that his big sister was relieved. Their mother leaving had been hard on all of them, but hardest of all on Kelsey, and Kevin was glad she had Roman's support. Roman would come over to the Kalthis apartment after school on nights that Kelsey was working late and help Kevin look after the younger kids. He would clean up all the spills and stains as best he could, try to cook as nutritious a dinner as a teenage boy who's never cooked before can, and have them all put to bed before 9 so that when Kelsey came home an hour later, she didn't have to do anything. Kevin idolized Roman. It helped that Roman was also very kind to him. Kevin had never really had any good male role models before, but Roman was exactly that. He was a straight A student who excelled at his after-school office job. He already had 3 scholarships awarded for university, and he was very responsible when he came over to their apartment to babysit. Roman's influence helped Kevin to want to help his big sister out as much as possible. Kelsey felt guilty about it. This wasn't the life she wanted for her little brothers and sisters, but she also really appreciated Kevin's assistance with keeping the household running. The whole family, minus their scumbag of a mother, of course, had begun to pull together. And the results were starting to show. With Roman and Kevin's help, Kelsey was able to build a routine for herself and her siblings. The little kids had been enrolled in a family daycare, which Kevin took them to on his way to and from school, while Kelsey headed to her before-school job hours beforehand. And then Roman would come over after his job finished at 5 and stay with them until Kelsey finally got home from her second job. She would try to catch up with her homework on the weekends, as she was determined to finish high school still, and she had finally caught up on all their bills. It was around this time that Kelsey realised that she was falling in love with, or possibly was already in love with, Roman Peterson. They'd only been friends for 6 months, but Kelsey had told him everything. He had helped her so much in the last 3 months, and they talked all the time via text. Could he maybe like her too? And that brings us to the end of Chapter 11 of Kellyanne, Kalthis and Co. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can tune in soon to hear the next chapter. Or like I said, look us up on Facebook. Bye!